from Global, leading Britain's conversation, The Nigel Farage Show.
Mr. Nigel Farage.
Thank you, Donald, and good evening, everybody. Well, we're all back from Brussels after that 38-minute summit yesterday, and gosh, didn't all the other EU leaders look pleased? Off they went for their Sunday lunches, having not had to do too much work. It had all been agreed. That, some say, was the easy bit. Now, it's sales time. It's Theresa May's Black Friday moment, and it begins today, and it will go on and on and on. She's about, having spoken to the House of Commons today. Oh, and by the way, you had to wait a very, very long time to find any member of Parliament that's actually stood up and supported her. But she now will go on a tour, we're told, to all four parts of the United Kingdom. And then the great Brexit debate in the House of Commons itself. It'll be debated on Tuesday the 4th, Wednesday the 5th, Thursday the 6th, Monday the 10th, and then Tuesday the 11th. And the vote, the meaningful vote, is going to take place on the 11th of December. That's just over 2 weeks from now. So, beginning her great sales pitch, this was Theresa May at 3:30 this afternoon in the House of Commons.
Mr. Speaker, this is the right deal for Britain because it delivers on the democratic decision of the British people. It takes back control of our borders, it ends the free movement of people in full once and for all, allowing the government to introduce a new skills-based immigration system. It takes back control of our laws, it ends the jurisdiction of the European Court of Justice in the UK, and means instead our laws being made in our parliaments, enforced by our courts. And it takes back control of our money. It ends the vast annual payments we send to Brussels.
40 billion.
So instead we can spend taxpayers' money on our own priorities, including the £394 million a week of extra investment into our long-term plan for the National Health Service. By creating a new free trade area with no tariffs, fees, charges, quantitative restrictions or rules of origin checks, this deal protects jobs, including those that rely on integrated supply chains. It protects our security with a close relationship on defence and on tackling crime and terrorism, which will help to keep all our people safe. And it protects the integrity of our United Kingdom, meeting our commitments in Northern Ireland and delivering for the whole UK family, including our overseas territories and the Crown dependencies.
There you go. It's absolutely wonderful. Everything's solved. It's just that actually nothing is. Just remind ourselves, folks, what was agreed yesterday is a legally binding withdrawal agreement, all right? Added to which was a future political declaration, which actually has no force of law whatsoever. And what we have agreed to is to give away somewhere between 40 and 60 billion pounds to be in this next phase, the next transition phase to the end of 20, or as she's already said, perhaps the end of 2021, although the EU are now talking about the end of 2022, during which time there will be no changes at all to free movement at our borders. There'll be no possibility of signing free trade deals with the rest of the world. What she was saying this afternoon is a wish list for what she thinks she may get at the end of all of this. But there's a problem. And the real problem is the backstop, which she commented on today.
Mr. Speaker, I do not pretend that either we or the EU are entirely happy with these arrangements. And that's how it must be. Were either party entirely happy, that party would have no incentive to move on to the future relationship. But there is no alternative deal that honours our commitments to Northern Ireland which does not involve this insurance policy. And the EU would not have agreed any future partnership without it. Put simply, there is no deal that comes without a backstop. And without a backstop, there is no deal.
Well, the backstop, of course, is the means by which the European Union effectively can annex Northern Ireland, can hive it off from the United Kingdom and treat it differently. But because, of course, the Prime Minister has DUP support and has to maintain the integrity of the entire United Kingdom, effectively the backstop would hive off the whole of the United Kingdom. It's something we should never have signed up to. She talks about incentives. There is now, if this withdrawal agreement passes through the House of Commons, there is now no incentive, none, for the European Union to give us anything, because they're not committed to giving us anything. And this, I think, indirectly was, a point that was raised by member after member. Why are we giving away all this money? I have to say, when I saw President Macron last night, shortly after the conference had ended, saying that we'll threaten them with the backstop unless we get continued French access to British fisheries, I think, folks, that's what's going to happen for the next few years. We are going to be the EU's whipping boy, and they'll threaten us again and again and again with the backstop. Well, Jeremy Corbyn gave the response for the opposition, and I have to say, he did end in pretty spirited style.
Many people who voted Remain voted for an outward-looking and inclusive society. And they fear this deal, and they fear the rhetoric of the Prime Minister in promoting this deal. Exactly. Likewise, many people from areas that voted Leave feel this deal has betrayed the Brexit they voted for. It does not take back control, it will not make them better off, and it will not solve the economic deprivation that affects far too many communities and towns and cities across this country. This deal is not a plan for Britain's future. So, for the good of the nation, the House has very little choice but to reject this deal.
Well, that was pretty clear, wasn't it? That was as clear as it could be. Labour is voting against this deal. There was some speculation yesterday about whether they maybe could think about abstaining and let the Tory party tear chunks out of each other and sort it out that way. But no, he made it clear they're going to vote against. It then went to questions, and I give her credit for one thing. She does stand there and take a lot of questions and a lot of stick. In fact, the only person I saw being vaguely supportive was Nicky Morgan. Of the questions that were asked, the critical questions that were asked, I thought actually Jacob Rees-Mogg's question really hit the nail on the head.
May I, first of all, thank my right honourable friend for making 3 statements to the House of Commons in 10 days, which I think is boycottian in its achievement. To an earlier question, the Prime Minister said that we had a legal obligation to pay £39 billion. I wondered if she's forgetting the report of the House of Lords from March 2017 that said in the event of leaving without a deal, we owed no money at all.
Quite.
Therefore, what are we buying with £39 billion of taxpayers' money?
Can I assure my honourable friend that I have not forgotten the House of Lords report, but there is a different opinion in relation to the House of Lords report, and that opinion is that there are legal obligations that this country would hold to the European Union in relation to financial payments in any circumstances. As I've said before, I think it's important that we are a country that upholds our legal obligations.
So it's £40 billion that she's agreed to, but if the transition's extended, and don't forget she's asked already for 1 year and the Commission are prepared to grant 2 years, that would be probably another, let's call it 30 billion between friends. And if then they won't let us out of the customs arrangements, we could be paying a net 15 billion a year, maybe 20 billion a year for, well, I should be long retired. And that's the problem with this deal. It leaves us trapped, and that's why I am so strongly opposed to it, even though it does technically get us out of the European Union on March the 29th. It's even worse than Brexit in name only. But you've heard from the Prime Minister. She's about to go out round the country. We're going to have 5 full days of debate in the House of Commons. Can she convince you that this is the best deal possible? 0345 6060 973. You can text your views to 84850. You can tweet using the hashtag Farage and LBC at LBC, and of course Facebookers, you can comment there too. Let's ask Chris in Fulham. Chris, do you think she's going to sell you this as the best deal possible?
She's got more chance of selling a bucket of water to a drowning man.
Oh, so you're feeling somewhat negative, Chris, about this deal, are you?
Yeah, that's the nicest negativity I can give on air. I'm disgusted by the deal that she's come back with, and concerned. I spoke to you some weeks ago and said I was concerned that we left a Remainer in charge.
I remember, yeah.
Negotiating a Brexit. This is a Brexit in name only. And the damage that it does, or it can do in the future, as you so eloquently pointed out, This is a legally binding agreement that keeps us in the withdrawal process, with a piece of toilet paper written on in the back that maybe we'll do this and get that later on. We've already had Spain mumbling about Gibraltar.
Yep.
Macron is going on about the fisheries.
Yep.
Denmark and Iceland have mentioned the fisheries as well.
And it's only it's only just started. Imagine what the next 3 years is going to bring us.
Well, listen, I'm very worried for our country, Nigel. Very worried. And I'm more worried than I have been since the start of this. And I think what needs to happen now is it needs to be rejected.
Yep.
I'm one bit of hope is that Corbyn has actually rejected it now, publicly.
Yeah, he has, and he can't really go back on that. Chris, I'm going to thank you. I'm going to move on to Ian, who's a new caller from Centre Staff. Where's that, Ian?
Well, I'm in North Wales at the moment, Nigel.
North Wales, okay.
I live in Bolton. I'm from a beautiful town of Bolton that you
I know
enjoy.
it very well, yeah. So, come on, Ian. Is she going to, and you're living in North Wales now, and she's going to come to Wales, is she going to sell you this deal on the basis, and you may not like the deal, but the argument she's going to put is that this is the best and the only deal possible, and that if we don't buy into it, there may be no Brexit?
Well, you know, Nigel, Juncker must be running back to the EU Commission today with it, rubbing his hands together, saying, you know what, guys, I've done that Black Friday in the UK. I've just got myself a bog off.
I reckon he was stretchered out last night, actually. He'd have been celebrating so heavily. So it's a disaster, Ian, in your view?
Nigel, I'm fed up with this scaremongering. Michael Gove's at it again today. All our water will be purified unless... Which is a load of rubbish. I work for a chemical company. I know about chemicals. The hexafluorosilicic acid that they put in it, nothing to do with bacteria. It's a fluoridation chemical. So all this nonsense about Mike Gove saying, "Oh, you're not going to get pure water." It's just more scaremongering for me.
You've had enough, Ian. You've had enough. So you want this? So you want Parliament to reject this deal?
Oh, absolutely. I'd not only reject it, I want us to... Why can't we have a no deal? Why can't we? May said no deal is better than a bad deal.
Well, she didn't mean it.
She's giving us a bad deal.
She didn't mean it. She didn't mean it. That's the problem. Ian, thank you for that, and thank you for telling us about... And you're right, today's scare story was there'll be no safe drinking water if we leave with no deal. It gets worse and worse and worse. Theresa May's deal shackles us to the EU, and she expects everyone's support. Is this a joke, says Richard. Michael says, I listened to Theresa May, and I don't believe a word. Not one single word. Come on, there must be some big May supporters out there. There must be some big supporters for this deal out there. Only Nicky Morgan in Parliament managed to support it. Surely somebody out there thinks this deal's worth buying. 0345 6060 973. You're listening to The Nigel Farage Show here on LBC. It's 6:15 and time for the news headlines with Lisa Aziz.
Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn's called Theresa May's Brexit deal the worst of all worlds for the future of the UK and urged MPs to reject it in the meaningful vote on the 11th of December. A British PhD student accused of spying in the United Arab Emirates has been released from jail after being pardoned from his life sentence. Britain's accused Russia of using deplorable military force against Ukraine after it seized Ukrainian ships and crew off the coast of Crimea. LBC weather: showers across the east of England and Scotland through tonight, cold with fog and low cloud elsewhere, a low of 2 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm J-Louise Knight, and the clockwise M25 has delays of around half an hour towards 25 for the A10 and Enfield because a car broke down earlier. Anti-clockwise, it's heavy between Clackett Lane services towards Sevenoaks at 5 after a brief hold of traffic to clear an accident. Massive delays in the centre of town, either side of London Bridge, which is still blocked both ways with a black cab demo, and it's queuing north over Waterloo Bridge as the Strand underpass is shut for emergency repairs. Now, if you're heading out of town to the east on the A13 this evening, it's very slow. The usual delays made worse by roadworks on River Road, so it's queuing both ways towards Movers Lane at Barking. And on the train, severe delays on TfL Rail from Paddington to Heathrow Terminal 5. It's also causing a reduced service to run on Heathrow Express. South Western have 20-minute delays to and from Waterloo, and there's no service on London Tramlink from East Croydon to Sandilands.
LBC.
When you think of the internet, you think of people searching, sharing, and communicating with each other. But in this connected age, our smart devices are talking to each other too. It's called the Internet of Things. And with BT, your business can lead the way in this new age of connectivity. Find out more and enter to win a brand new iPad Pro with a smart keyboard at lbc.co.uk. BT, helping business relationships stay on track.
We are gathered to honour Dave. Showing utter disregard for your own safety, you did haul the Christmas tree down from the attic, untangle the Christmas lights, and with true dedication, even found the broken bulb. So we say, someone deserves a bells.
For the facts, visit drinkaware.co.uk.
The first snow on the hills. The family walk on Boxing Day. Winter's a time for making great stories. So start yours with Cotswold Outdoor. Because today is the last day of our Black Friday offers with 20% off everything. Over 250 of the best brands, including Rab, Berghaus and Salomon, with 20% off everything until midnight. Cotswold Outdoor. Find your local store at cotswoldoutdoor.com. Excludes electronics.
At Argos, Cyber Monday is here. Save 20% on selected indoor furniture when you spend £100 or more with code FERN20. And save 20% on selected homewares with code HOME20. Hurry, ends Tuesday. With Argos, you're good to go. Selected line, Cyber Monday ends Tuesday 27th of November while stocks last.
It's Christmas dinner, and they're off. Nan's out the chair, racing for pigs in blankets. Dad makes a beeline for the spuds. Oh no, heartburn has struck. Dad's down, he's suffering. They're pinching things off his plate. Savage, hold on, he's got Gaviscon. And yes, he's trying the turkey. He's back in the game. Don't miss out on Christmas dinner. Nothing gets to work faster than the nation's favourite heartburn and indigestion brand. Gaviscon Double Action. Based on sales data, always read the label.
Sometimes you wish you could just magic things better. Like that time you tried to paint your walls a sparkly shade of unicorn. But you don't need to be a magician to fix things because Trusted Trader are always on hand to help. TrustedTrader.com have lots of really lovely tradespeople who are vetted, reviewed and reliable. So for decorators, plasterers or other professionals in their trade, just pop online, make your wish and they appear like magic.
TrustedTrader.com. My perfect sandwich? Well, it goes bread, lettuce, cheese and then the Branston. Deliciously tangy. Its sweet scent alone sends my taste buds into a frenzy. A mountain of glorious pickle smothers the bread from crust to crust. Ready to embrace its culinary soulmate, the creamy cheddar. Then cut it in half and you're done.
Try new Branston Smooth in a jar. All the great Branston taste without the chunks. Bring out the Branston.
This is LBC, the Nigel Farage Show. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Tweet at LBC using the hashtag Farage on LBC.
For decades, I've argued that one of the key reasons to leave the European Union was because of fishing. Not just because I'm a sea angler who now finds himself wrapped in so many EU rules I really question on the odd day off I get whether it's worth actually going, but of course because of what we've lost in terms of our own commercial fishing industry. And it's interesting, I said the day after the referendum that I thought fisheries would be the acid test of Brexit. Would we take back control of our territorial waters at the end of the Article 50 process? Well, here was, and it's interesting, so many other people now are talking about fishing, including the Prime Minister, who made a big thing of it in her speech today.
It ensures that we will leave EU programmes that do not work in our interests. So we will be out of the common agricultural policy that has failed our farmers, and out of the common fisheries policy that has failed our coastal communities.
Sounds great.
Instead, as the political declaration sets out, we will be an independent coastal state once again. We will take back full sovereign control over our waters, so we will be able to decide for ourselves who we allow to fish in our waters.
So what she's saying is, in the political declaration, which I called the child's wish list to Father Christmas, we will be taking back control of our waters. Well, Jeremy Corbyn picked up on this point. He was not in the least bit convinced.
The President of France, President Macron, has already made clear what his priorities will be in negotiating Britain a future deal. On Sunday, he said, "We will concentrate our efforts in order to obtain access to the British waters before the end of the transition period. And of course, all our fishermen will be protected." Isn't it the case that under the Prime Minister's botched deal, we will have to agree to those demands on access to waters and quota shares if we want to finalise a future trade deal or extend the transition?
Amazing. Other people, too, now think we should leave the CFP, including, and I almost couldn't believe it, the SNP have argued for years that it's better to stay in the CFP and argue from within. But Ian Blackford today, their leader, said this.
Here we are again, with another sellout to the Scottish fishing industry by a Tory government. Well, we've been here before. We were sold out by Ted Heath,
Absolutely.
and we've been sold out repeatedly by Tory governments.
Well, I'm delighted with that because I've battled hard with the SNP telling me I was wrong. So everybody agrees we've got to get back control of our fisheries. The Prime Minister says it's going to happen. She was ever so confident. Well, that was politicians. I'm going to go very quickly to a representative from the fishing industry, June in Lowestoft. June, good evening.
Good evening, Nigel.
Now, you run a fish market, is that right?
Yes, I run one of the last show auctions in Lowestoft on the east coast of England.
Yeah, so you must be thrilled when the Prime Minister tells you that we're leaving the common fisheries post. Great news for you guys, isn't it?
No, she's just lied and backtracked the whole
Strong
2.5 years. That is all that woman has done. She's let us down very, very badly. I've been in negotiation talks with fishermen since Friday. Very sad. I had one young lad in tears that he'd just gone to the bank and borrowed some money. I think with Corbyn and the rest of the guys you were just mentioning, do the EU demand and do they surrender their national resources for market access? No. Does any other nation give up fisheries access and resources? No. And I think with the help of you and other people, we've done a real strong battle this 2.5 years. We really have, different fishing societies, UKIP, have been absolutely marvellous, and this has rubbed off onto other people, hence Labour, DUP. We all realise that those waters are so important. Basically, we have the crown, and we are throwing the emeralds and diamonds over there.
June, what happens? 29th of March, we leave the European Union. What changes will you see in the industry the next day?
Well, it won't be. We leave. But then we'll just join back into the same thing. We need to get out of this, Nigel, quick, with a no deal.
Yeah,
I know people look at the GDP of fishing and they'll say, I get it all the time, well, isn't it worth this? Isn't it worth that because we've allowed it to become so poor? 6.4 billion this will be worth to our economy. But there'll be skilled jobs, improving living standards, helping the deprived areas. The gravy train is massive. Well, why can't this woman see that?
Well, June, maybe she does, maybe she doesn't. But I think, frankly, the worst of it is she keeps pretending that it's all solved for our fisheries. And as you say, the day after we leave and enter transition, we're arguably in a worse place than we are now, because at the annual quota-setting negotiations, we won't even be there to fight our corner. June, thank you, and I'm sorry for the travails of your industry. And June used the word lying. I will just say duplicitous. Let's keep going. Let's go to Martin in Glasgow. Martin, when she gets to Scotland, is she going to be able to sell this deal?
No, it'll be rotten tomatoes, to be honest with you, Nigel.
Really?
I've never seen so many disgusting lies in my life from one person. And I'll tell you what's happened here. She's done this deliberately. It's all been planned, this bad deal. She must have known Parliament will vote against this, which will probably happen. When they vote against it, there'll be these big debates, we should have the people's vote, or worse still, in my case, let's not have Brexit. It's all been done deliberately. And I'll tell you one thing, I voted Conservative up here last year because there's nobody else really.
As quite a lot of people did, Martin. I mean, they won 13 seats in Scotland, didn't they?
They did, Nigel, but I'll tell you right now, never till I die will I vote Conservative ever again. I am disgusted.
Given your level of suspicion about her motives, do you think it's possible, Martin, that she might, on the 11th of December, say to the House of Commons, OK, you've got two choices. One is you support my deal, or it's a second referendum. Do you think she could stoop to that?
Yes, I do. I think that's the plan, Nigel. There's no doubt.
It may well be.
How can a politician not see what Parliament's going to vote? It's quite obvious. This has been done deliberately, and how anybody can come on this phone and defend that woman is beggars belief.
Well, so far, Martin, I can't find them, and you're certainly not one of them. Thank you. Remember, Theresa May supporters, deal supporters, people who think it is, whether you like it or not, the best deal possible. 0345 6060 973. Esau is calling from Basildon. Good evening to you.
Hello, Nigel. It's my first time to talk to you.
Well, welcome.
Thank you. I'm trying to find out, Nigel. All this time, you campaigned to go out of your campaign for Brexit,
Yes.
and you successfully got it, and eventually with the help of the Conservatives. And at the end of the day, the deal has now been signed. Rather, the deal is now on the table.
Mm-hmm.
And all the Brexiteers are simply saying, oh, it's a bad deal, it's a bad deal. There's not one of you has come up with an alternative.
Well, Esau,
Number two...
Esau, yes, no, come on. That's not fair or not true. Many of us have argued for a simple free trade agreement, and many of us argued that if they don't want to do that, we will leave on WTO terms. And here's my point to you, right?
Yeah.
We understood that there was an Article 50 process. We understood, because we'd read it, that it would take up to 2 years for us to leave. All right? We are leaving, if this deal passes, the treaties of Rome and its subsequent amendments on the 29th of March. But the day after that, nothing changes. We still go on paying money. We still have open borders. We still have no control over our fisheries. And this is the point, Esau. We are not actually leaving next year.
No. Let me put it this way. You already know it's a marked period that you're going to leave, or, you're going to have this time to this time in order to leave. You already know that.
That was Article 50, Esau. That was the 2-year Article 50 period. Now we're being told it's a further 3 years, but we can't even leave at the end of that with this deal unless they agree.
No. If the Europe has said you are coming out in 2-3 years, it's still saying you are coming out. There is no such thing as the Europeans saying, oh, we'll tie you in even if after 3 years. No. Secondly, I heard you talk about Corbyn. I think Corbyn is the worst politician in this country. I've never voted Conservative. I've always voted Labour.
Mm-hmm.
But once Corbyn was asked on television, what will happen? Are you going to press the button when there's a need for a button to be pressed to protect the population in this country? He was just simply
I know, but that's a slightly separate issue. The one issue I'd take with Corbyn today is he did argue we should stay part of a customs union and single market deal. So Corbyn too is breaking his promise that he made in the run-up to the last general election. Thank you very much indeed for your call. And if only we were leaving, if only on March the 30th, we were back in control of fisheries and everything else. But we're not going to be, and we could be stuck in this never land for goodness knows how long. Not acceptable in my view. You're listening to the Nigel Farage Show here on LBC at 6:30 in time for the news with Lisa Aziz.
Theresa May's warned MPs they'll be back to square one if they reject her Brexit deal. But Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn's urging them not to back it in next month's meaningful vote in the Commons, saying it's the worst of all worlds for the future of the UK. The wife of a British academic released from jail in the United Arab Emirates says she's delighted he's coming home. 31-year-old Matthew Hedges, who'd been accused of spying, was pardoned from his life sentence following an appeal for clemency and UK Foreign Office intervention. The UK has accused Russia of using deplorable military force against Ukrainian ships. Border guards last night opened fire on and seized 3 of their vessels off the Russian-annexed Crimean Peninsula. LBC weather, showers developing across the east of England and also Scotland through tonight. Cold with fog and low cloud elsewhere, a low of just 2 degrees.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast, weekday mornings from 7, LBC.
Stephen Barclay, who is Conservative MP for North East Cambridgeshire, he's also Brexit Secretary. And where has the UK been successful?
Well, I touched on it. I mean, having control of our borders, so we put an end to free movement. This is a good deal for Northern Ireland.
Could, of course, bring about the collapse or the end of Mrs May, if not indeed the collapse of the government, couldn't it?
Nick Ferrari at breakfast, weekday mornings from 7, LBC.
Landlords, Direct Line guarantees to beat other insurers' renewal premiums for the same cover. Can your insurance do that? Switch to Direct Line Landlord. New customers only. Qualifying criteria apply. Underwritten by UK Insurance Limited.
first get-together in your first home. Halifax know how good that feeling is. And if you're a first-time buyer, we'll do everything we can to help make it happen for you. Halifax, giving extra to first-time buyers.
Is Donald Trump a dangerous provocateur or a great entrepreneur? Does the Me Too movement empower women or undermine them? Does the country need a people's vote, or have we already had one? With independent opinions from the best British journalists, read a magazine that makes you think. The Spectator. Open for debate. Try a month free at spectator.co.uk. Credit card required. Future subscription costs apply unless cancelled 7 days before end of trial.
Did you know you can get real-time updates to find out when your bus is due? There are loads of mobile apps available, powered by TfL data, or you can visit our website, all of which make it easier than ever to plan your journey. Running for the bus may soon be a thing of the past. Search TfL improvements. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
Block management. 2 very simple words. But what do they actually mean? Well, there's budget approval for starters, then service charge invoices, health and safety paperwork, cleaning, gardening, maintenance, inspections, contracts, insurance, emergency call-outs, and a whole lot more besides.
So for complete block management solutions, just remember 3 simple letters: ABC. ABC Estates will take care of all your day-to-day management, leaving you as happy as Larry. See abcestates.co.uk or call 0800 888 6688.
The first snow on the hills. The family walk on Boxing Day. Winter's a time for making great stories. So start yours with Cotswold Outdoor. Because today is the last day of our Black Friday offers with 20% off everything. Over 250 of the best brands, including Rab, Berghaus and Salomon, with 20% off everything until midnight. Cotswold Outdoor. Find your local store at cotswoldoutdoor.com. Excludes electronics.
At Argos, Cyber Monday is here. Save 20% on selected indoor furniture when you spend £100 or more with code FERN20. And save 20% on selected homewares with code HOME20. Hurry, ends Tuesday. With Argos, you're good to go. Selected line, Cyber Monday ends Tuesday, 27th of November, while stocks last.
The Nigel Farage Show on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Well, Theresa May is obviously desperate to get her deal through, and we learnt that this is to be, the next couple of weeks, like a mini general election campaign. And the Telegraph broke the story this morning that the Prime Minister sees a prime-time Sunday night debate against Jeremy Corbyn as a means of persuading the public. That's what we learnt first thing this morning. Well, very, very quickly, the Labour leader shot back and accepted. Of course, remember, it was Theresa May who didn't want to do the TV debates at the last general election. So the odd thing is, we get this briefing, the Prime Minister wants a head-to-head with Corbyn, Corbyn responds yes, and since then we've heard nothing. Absolutely nothing. But now everybody wants to get involved in this debate. But what would be the point of this debate? I mean, would Mrs May, a Remainer, pretend to be a Leaver? And would Jeremy Corbyn, a Remainer who's been a Leaver for the last 30 years, I mean, what would he pretend to be? What would be the point of this debate? I'm not sure we'd achieve very much from it at all, although generally I'm for debates. But I think you probably need to have somebody who was for leaving genuinely and for staying genuinely, and then you might actually get a bit more objectivity. And also, so keen is she to get through this next couple of weeks, that she gave out a knighthood on Friday. John Hayes, long-term MP from Lincolnshire, junior minister for 8 years, suddenly it gets announced that Eurosceptic John Hayes is to be knighted, and everyone goes mad. The SNP's Nicola Sturgeon said it brings the whole system into disrepute, and Marc Francois, Tory MP, said you could write down the principles that Hayes has on the back of a postage stamp, and on it goes. Labour criticised it, and everybody assumed that John Hayes had been bought off with a peerage to support the May deal, only for us to hear John Hayes say he will still not support the planned deal as it stands in Parliament. So even at the moment, knighthoods don't appear to be working. So Ben in Chatham says to me, Nigel, the long and short of it is that this groundbreaking decision, and it needs all Brits to buy into Mrs May's deal, it's the best we can get before the haggling starts. Suck it up and enjoy. Vassal life, here we come. the haggling starts. The other side don't need to haggle at all. All they need to do is threaten us. And Monsieur Macron has started this already. I'll be very interested. I'm going to Brussels this week. I think sort of 75% certain there's going to be a debate with Monsieur Barnier on Thursday morning. And we'll see just how much crowing there is around the room. So, who supports this deal? I'm off to Pisa in Italy to speak to Catherine, who I've spoken to before. Hi, Catherine.
Good evening, Mr. Farage. I don't think we have spoken before, actually.
Right. Do you support? Yeah, go on.
I've obviously been following the whole debate, the referendum, in which, unfortunately, I was excluded, and so that has obviously led me to question the whole democratic process.
How long have you lived abroad? How long have you lived abroad?
31 years.
Oh, well, so you get a vote for up to 15 years, don't you?
Yes, this is correct, even though we were promised a vote by an earlier government, but that promise fell through.
Okay.
I have to say that under the circumstances, Mrs. May's deal was the only thing she could do. Mm-hmm. In the face of so many angry voices against the European Union, I took up leave to take up my right to take up opportunities. That's a lot of takes, but you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. To work in the European Union as a European citizen. I now see that right being taken away from me. There are a group of us, a great number of us, who have been left in the dark, up the proverbial creek without any paddle. A certain responsibility for that lies with you, Mr. Farage.
Okay.
And
Catherine,
I sincerely hope...
Catherine, hang on. People were working, Catherine. I mean, there were as many British people working in Germany in 1972, before we joined the European Union, as there were in 1992, 20 years after we joined. You don't have to be a member of the European Union to work in another country, do you?
To live here legally, at the moment, if no deal comes about, on the 29th of March, we will become illegal residents.
Well,
now
Catherine, don't we have a very strong position here? Don't we have a very strong position here that for every one British person, passport holder, that there is living in Europe, there are between 3 and 4 EU citizens living in the UK, and that actually, you know, the one thing, and interestingly, you know, I said, well, a year before Mrs. May said this, I said the one big offer we should make at the start of this process is to offer rights for EU citizens who've legally come into the United Kingdom, and that reciprocity would follow. And it always struck me that was the common sense thing to do from day one.
Well, it would appear to everybody that would be the common sense approach. But what's happened to that common sense approach? What's happened to the value of free movement in Europe?
Oh, we don't want it, Catherine.
Mr. Farage,
we don't want it. No, Catherine, we don't want
the peace of Europe, because when people start looking for faults, when they start criticising their reality and looking to blame others, that unleashes terrible forces, Mr. Farage.
Well, if you want to look,
hold you responsible.
If you want to look
that.
at new political forces, I would argue, Catherine, they've been caused by free movement. Look at Germany, look at Sweden, look at what is happening, and look across the entire Western world.
So you're saying to me that people who move to other countries to look for opportunity are the causes of racism?
Oh, I think there's absolutely no question that we have seen the birth of new political movements because of excess free movement of people that has brought with it cultural change, etc. Yeah, absolutely, no question about it. There is no question that Mrs. Merkel's career will end on a very low note because of what she did in terms of the issue of immigration, and that actually, because of free movement, many of those who've come to Germany are now being asked to be taken up by the rest of Europe. Catherine, I can't discuss free movement any longer with you. I understand your point of view. We both have a different point of view. I'm off to Grimsby, a fishing port, to speak to John, who's a new caller. Hi, John.
Hi there, Nigel.
So,
I can call you Nigel, can I?
You certainly can. So, John, Grimsby used to... I think we used to have 350 boats in there, about 8 now, something like that.
Yeah, the distant water fleet was killed off years ago, but
Yes.
that was the Icelandic gunboats, of course. Now
Yes.
it's a big food processing town.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of money invested into it, helping out the local people, but it's really Brexit City around here. They voted firmly for Brexit. I'm a staunch Remainer.
Yep.
Always have been.
Mm-hmm.
What makes me laugh is they're crying about wanting a free port now. I mean, this is the town that wanted virtually no deal. Let's get out of the EU. And they're already moaning because they can see what's going to happen. But what makes me laugh at Brexit people like you is that Project Fear is becoming Project Fact, just as it was pointed out to you.
What in
and it's
particular,
utter chaos. And do you
John?
think any of this is of any use to this country?
So
You've
John,
got to be
let me ask you, John, would and you mentioned Icelandic gunboats, and without getting too technical on this, that changed the international law. Up until that moment, we had 12 miles of waters we could call our own. We now have 200. Do you think 200 miles off Grimsby as an exclusive economic zone, rather like Norway,
There's no fishing industry left.
Well,
it doesn't fish
because it's been destroyed, John.
It's all imported over land, but that's irrelevant.
John, if we let me ask the question again. If we had 200 miles of the North Sea off Grimsby that was ours to fish and manage, just like Norway on the other side, do you not accept that would be a boom for Grimsby?
Not necessarily, no, because
Really?
it's changed its outlook. It's modernised itself.
I tell you what, John.
This
I tell you what, John.
This Little England approach. You people make me laugh.
I tell you what, John. I'd invest in Grimsby.
You really love yourselves, don't you?
I'd invest in Grimsby. I'd invest in Grimsby. You don't care about Grimsby, do you? You care about Remain. I'm telling you how your town could be radically transformed, and you don't want to listen.
It's been radically transformed. Where have you been? You don't think we Remainers are going to go away, by the way, dear? And we've listened to your claptrap for the last 20 years.
Well, the thing is,
You're gonna have
John...
to hear from us now.
The thing is, John, there
We're
aren't
not
many of
going
you.
away, you know.
But there aren't many of you, really, are there?
Well, I'd like to test that out. Although, let me just nail my colours to the mast. I don't believe in referendums. This is a parliamentary democracy, all right? So there's no second referendum. Don't think for a minute that I want that to happen, because I don't believe in it. We're stuck with it now. We're going to have to leave. And people like you and Boris Johnson, who was a Remainer, then changed his coat, is going to have to step up now and stop being cowards and get this sorted out. You can't sort it out because you said we hold all the cards.
We do.
Guess what?
We haven't played them. We haven't played... John, we haven't played them. But now let me ask you, John, one quick final question. Do you want this deal as it is to go through the House of Commons? Do you believe it's the best she could have done?
Oh, you've got Gina Miller to thank, and the enemies of the people, by the way, that there's any parliamentary debate going on. You do know that, don't you? Otherwise, she could have done this on the knob. That's another thing that you, Brexit...
John, I'm going to ask you one more time. I'm running out of time. One more time. Yeah. Do you think Parliament should, given where we are, do you think Parliament should pass this deal?
No, I don't, because it's rubbish.
All right, OK, thank you. Well, there we are. There is agreement there with John in Grimsby on something. Everybody, and I know Catherine in Italy is concerned, but actually, I'm not worried about that. You know, people could live in Italy before 1972 without any problem at all. But it seems there is unanimity of view. The deal is rubbish. The deal should be junked. What on earth is Mrs May going to do on this tour around the country to convince you? Somebody, please somebody tell me it's a good deal. 0345 6060 973. You're listening to the Nigel Farage Show here on LBC. It's now 6:46 and time for the news headlines with Lisa Aziz.
Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn's called Theresa May's Brexit deal the worst of all worlds for the future of the UK and urged MPs to reject it in the meaningful vote on the 11th of December. The wife of a British academic who's been freed from prison in the United Arab Emirates says she's elated at his release. Britain's accused Russia of using deplorable military force against Ukraine after it seized Ukrainian ships and crew off the coast of Crimea. LBC weather, showers across the east of England and also Scotland through tonight, cold with fog and low cloud elsewhere, a low of 2 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Jay Louise Knight, and there are long delays in the centre of town, either side of London Bridge, which remains blocked due to the ongoing black cab demo. There are queues as well heading north over Waterloo Bridge as the Strand underpass remains shut for the ongoing repairs. Now, the A13, heavier than usual both ways this evening, approaching Movers Lane at Barking. That's caused by roadworks on River Road. And roadworks in Neasden are causing delays both ways on Neasden Lane north towards Braemar Avenue. Onto A trains, because of a signalling problem, there are severe delays on TfL Rail from Paddington to Heathrow Terminal 5. It's also causing a reduced service to run on Heathrow Express, and South Western are warning of delays of 40 minutes now to and from Waterloo.
Coming up at 4 on LBC, Eddie Mair.
Theresa May is selling her Brexit deal to MPs. How many of them will buy it? And do you? We'll have full coverage throughout the programme.
Eddie Mair on LBC.
For the Black Friday lovers, the queue hoppers, the last-minute scramblers and sale shoppers, TalkTalk's Black Friday sale is now on. We're tearing over 30% off our award-winning fibre with no setup fee, no sneaky mid-contract price rises and our great connection guarantee. So you can leave any time in your first 30 days if you don't love your new fibre. But this deal won't last long, so switch to TalkTalk today and get over 30% off unlimited fibre. Now just £22.50 a month for 18 months with no setup fee. Hurry, offer ends 29th of November. Search TalkTalk Fibre. TalkTalk, fairer broadband for everyone. T's and C's apply.
I can't pretend to be a great celebrity.
Whatever the size of your business, now you can take card payments square and fair. Get next business day payments as standard, with no monthly fees and free point-of-sale software. Learn more at square.com/fair. Authorised by the Financial Conduct Authority for the provision of payment services. Terms and fees at square.com/fair.
That works the thingamabob.
A good summer. Finally. When your kids go to bed. Oh, finally. Making a profit. Finally. A business bank doing something different. Finally. Like giving cash back on your business account. Introducing the new Santander 123 Business Current account. Finally. A proper reason to switch. Cash back up to £300 annually on credit turnover. Monthly fee £12.50. For UK-based companies with up to 2 directors, owners or partners. 18 plus T's and C's apply.
Forget winter. Escape to Alat. Book your November-December holiday to year-round sunny Red Sea and enjoy sensational beaches, amazing water sports and non-stop fun in the sun. Direct low-cost flight and a limited time offer from £42. Book your trip now at travelalat.com.
The best place for sleepyheads is in their bridge bedding bed.
We love our sleep, and even though we use them less, we do still love real shops where we can get real customer service. Get the best of both. Buy your next new bed at Bridge Bedding. An incredible choice of beds and mattresses from the best-known brands in the UK, ensuring a great night's sleep. Bridge Bedding, Leigh-on-Sea, Hornchurch, or online at bridgebedding.com.
The best place for sleepyheads is in their bridge bedding bed.
At Oracle, we can help you find your tomorrow today. Just like we helped Yellow Dog.
Well, Oracle Cloud has enabled us to revolutionise the film industry. Projects that used to take 10 weeks can be done in just a few hours, so our customers can get their incredible movies out to audiences at lightning speed. And it's all possible because of Oracle Cloud.
Whatever your business, you can achieve your tomorrow today with the autonomous Oracle Cloud. Visit oracle.com/UK.
Leading Britain's conversation, The Nigel Farage Show. Tweet at LBC using the hashtag Farage on LBC.
At last, I found somebody who thinks it's a good deal. Trevor, by text, says, this is a fantastic deal. If you're from the EU. So there we are, even Trevor not on side. Let's have a bit of happier news from all this discord, shall we? Jacob Rees-Mogg earlier made a sort of Geoffrey Boycott metaphor when he was talking to the Prime Minister. Well, this morning in Sri Lanka, our cricket team finished off the series winning 3-0. It's the first time since 1963, before I was born, that we've won a clean sweep on a tour overseas. There we are. We're doing well at cricket. Cheer up, everybody. Now, Chris is a new caller from Coulsdon. Chris, come on, tell me this is a great deal.
Nigel, good evening.
Good evening.
Sorry to disappoint you.
Go on.
But you were talking about the fishing industry just before the break.
Yeah.
And actually, you and I met in East Kent sandwich in 2015 when you were standing for Senate South.
Okay.
In the general election.
Yeah.
A lot of water's gone under the bridge since then.
Plenty has. Plenty has. Chris, well, it's clearly on fishing. I mean, you've got what Mrs May's saying, but even Jeremy Corbyn and others saying this is absolute rubbish. We had June on, who owns the fish market up in Lowestoft. So clearly on fishing, this doesn't really deliver anything other than a sort of hope for the future. But, Chris, what do you want to see Parliament do?
Well, May's deal is definitely a sellout. I mean, even her foreign secretary, who is a Remainer, has described it as a turkey trap. It's actually a sort of bunch of turkey traps. Parliament, they'd be mad if they voted for it.
But could it be, Chris, do you think it's possible that Mrs May knows that and there is an agenda behind this?
Yes.
You see, I mean, Neil in Mill Hill sends me a message by text. He says, Theresa May knows this is a dead duck. She's just going to tread water for a couple of weeks. She knows it's going to be rejected. She's playing a game and knows exactly what she's doing. Do you think Neil's got a point?
Yeah, yes, he could well have. She could be playing for time. Lord Kerr was on Sky News today saying that Article 50 could be extended if Mrs May asked for it. The EU 27 would probably accept it in the hope that there'd be time for a referendum and the country would vote to remain.
But Mrs May's told us again and again, Chris, no second referendum. Surely she wouldn't break her word, would she?
I'm glad you asked that question, Nigel. You're a leading light in Leave Means Leave, and you represent UKIP in the European Parliament. And not so long ago you said that if Brexit was going down the pan, you would act. So what's your plan?
Well, I've been going out around the country campaigning, and I'm going to go out and do a whole load more of it. We're not sunk yet, Chris, but we're heading in the wrong direction. I thank you for your call. And on this point about being straight with the country, Nigel, we were all under the impression that the Prime Minister is a vicar's daughter. When is she going to start telling the truth? Says Joe in Wales. Isn't much. Now, look, there must be somebody out there. Someone, somewhere, tell me this is a great deal. Tell me it's the best we could possibly get. And that's really the argument, isn't it? The Prime Minister will not argue it's a fantastic deal as the next 2 weeks go by. She'll argue it's the only one that was possible, I guess. Sousa is a new caller from Scottish Borders. Good evening.
Good evening, Nigel. It's such a pleasure to meet to talk to you first of all.
Pleasure to have you on.
Thank you. I'd just like to thank you, for all your commitments and courage of, in all these years. So many people, well, very few know really what that meant for you and your family. So heads off and thanks a lot.
Well, that's very sweet of you. But on to where we are today. So,
yes,
is this the best deal she could possibly have got?
Oh no! What puzzles me in the first place, and that would be a question I would have for you, is how could, after this great victory and this very brave decision of the British people fighting to get out of this EU concept, their nepotism and deception and ignorance, that was such a great victory. How could the Conservative Party install someone like May in the first place, being a Remainer, and then
I know.
So this is puzzling to me that this happened in the first place, because Cameron stepped back because of his situation, and
it's been a nightmare. And do you remember we were told that nothing is agreed until everything's agreed? So I was hoping to see some sort of big, future plans linked to she'd agreed to pay. But actually, what we've done, and Jacob was right, we're paying away. Well, it's more like 60 billion. We're paying away a huge sum of money in return for a worthless piece of paper that isn't legally binding. I mean, it's awful, isn't it?
It is. It's repelling, I must say. And I think it's rather a sin. It is rather, one would be able to look through the whole concept, as she was never convinced to fight for a good deal for Britain. And
I wonder.
And everyone let her go all that way. And now we are here, after 2 years, and she's almost, fighting her victory through. If that all falls through,
she says, Sousa, that if this deal's rejected, she said today we're back to square one. Would you prefer to be at square one than where we are?
No, absolutely not. I think, I don't know, really. I think we should just drop her with the whole concept and leave without a deal. And
leave without a deal. OK,
absolutely,
fine,
please.
Thank you. Susan from the Border says leave without a deal. Then leave really would mean leave, wouldn't it? I've got time for one last caller. I'm going to Sheffield to speak to Craig, who's a new caller. Good evening, Craig.
Good evening, Nigel. Thank you. First time caller.
Well, welcome on. So, Craig, did she do the best she could do in difficult circumstances, in your view?
I'd like to ask you a question, Nigel.
Well, I just asked you one.
Who asked her to get a deal?
Well,
no.
According to...
I don't want a deal.
Yeah,
I'll leave outright. I never asked her for a deal. The mandate from the people was leave the EU.
Yes.
Nobody asked her for a deal, and that is it's an awful thing to go back on the people. We asked her to leave the EU and mandate, and she has not delivered what she said. I said, leave. I queued up at 7:30 in the school and put that ballot paper, leave the EU. And I might add that when they talk about you didn't know what they were voting for on that ballot paper, it's got these people, the experts who've researched this ballot paper and printed this ballot paper. They'll know exactly what it is. I asked to leave, not get a deal.
No, Craig, we're getting some very straight Yorkshire talking here, and I agree with you. We didn't vote for any kind of deal. We just voted to leave. If there was to be a deal, it's fine. And, I coined the phrase in the last couple of weeks of that campaign, no deal is better than a bad deal. I meant it then, and I mean it now. Craig, thank you very much indeed for your call. Well, folks, it was very difficult to find anyone that supports this deal. It must be clear to Theresa May she's going to lose in the House of Commons. But does she, as many of you are beginning to think, have a plan B? Is she going to force us towards a second referendum or a suspension of Article 50? Well, she might. Wouldn't do the Conservative Party much good, though. I'm going to be back tomorrow night at 6. At 10 tonight, it's Tom Swarbrick. But up next, it's Ian Dale.
Thank you very much, Nigel. Well, another Conservative MP has just announced that they're not voting for the deal. Tracy Crouch. She says on Facebook, having read through the draft withdrawal agreement and supporting documents and spending time talking to constituents, I've come to the conclusion that I cannot support the deal being proposed by the Prime Minister. I do not believe it delivers the Brexit that Chatham and Aylesford voted for, but also removes any certainty for our local businesses who trade with Europe. It's not been a good day for the Prime Minister. She was absolutely monstered in the Commons this afternoon. We're going to devote most of the programme to talking about what happens next. And is there anyone out there who supports Theresa May's Brexit deal? You've got 3 hours to tell me. Not holding my breath.